So after I've figured out everything that I've done in the last handful of months, and by the way, I throw this every single time, and I always say it. We appreciate you. 7 months, 8 months, we've been doing all this certain stuff on here, and we want to just continue to keep doing what we do. We're going to have the podcasts on our laptop pretty soon. We're going to do more visits, but until then, I have a little bit more to discuss the wonderful conundrum that is the war between Gen X, Gen Z, and the millennials. It is a gigantic hell in a cell triple threat match that will never ever get solved. And I feel like just doing maybe another little small Gen Z, Gen X video right now. There'll be a part 5, and as always, hit that like and subscribe button if you do enjoy all the content that we do on here. And as always, we appreciate you. I say that enough. And, I feel good. I got a fresh cut. It's near to the end. And I'm ready to go to work. What about you? Let's go. And I don't know if I feel like wearing a hat, because I do like my new haircut. Finally got it cleaned up and everything like that. You know, life is good when your own mother and your own mother, her bestie, is your salon person, is the one who does hair. We love them. They're part of family. With that in mind, I think I am going to change up. I was going to wear my Seattle Sonics throwback hat with the old school stuff I did. It was from the other place, but sound effects guy. So meanwhile, I am going to do this with a nice little fresh cut, and we welcome you. And as always, if you do enjoy the content, make sure you hit a like and throw a little bit of a comment in there. And as always, we appreciate you. Hit that subscribe button, because we are growing slowly and surely. We are doing the things we do on this channel. I'm going to throw a little bit, because I was toying, because I have a lot of videos that I have and a lot of ideas that me and the director and plan maker and all that stuff we have been putting up. But our Gen Z, Millennial, Gen X videos are too much fun to do. Now, I'm not necessarily Instagram's great, the real Slim Sherry, or a handful of others that do a lot of Gen X content and all that, but in all sense, we love to have these absolute discussions in here, because we talked about everything. We talked about what they do for club lives. We talked about the toys we had. We talked about the certain types of people and everything that goes into it. And it just doesn't get any better. I'm to the point now where I've done enough, to the point where I have done so much that I can't even, that I've done so much back in the day that I don't even remember. But that's what happens when you get older. And certain people in the Gen X, Millennial, Gen Z world, we're going to fear for our lives, because when Gen Alpha starts taking over and people like me are inside a hospice trying to figure out our AARP plan, what is the world going to be coming to? Because Gen Z, remember, is going to take this world, if they haven't done it already, whether it is in clubs, whether it is in public, whether it is in a shopping mall, whether it is in a sporting event. They believe they are entitled. We have to respect them, because we know Father Time never loses. But as always, and as everything in this world, there are limits. For example, what did we Gen X people do back in the day to have ourselves a good time? On a Friday, Saturday night, you think we were going to clubs? You think we were going to house parties? Well, like I said before, they were in our club stories that we also have on the channel. Find them and you will be educated somewhat. But I will say this, they did try many things, even people in my class, and I would suggest probably class between 1990 and 1998, 99, right before the millennial changed. We did many things, including sometimes probably one of the greatest traditions of all time, cruising. If you didn't go to a club, or you were not old enough to go to a club, you had two options. One, stay home. and talk on the phone on your landline with your bestie for 3 hours and wonder why your parents didn't get a phone call? Or you got in your car, you drove into town, or you drove to another town 20 minutes or a half hour away from where you lived, and what did you do? Numerous incoherent laps for no incoherent reason. You wanted to find people? You went cruising. You wanted to get a gang of people in your car and blast your freaking $9,000 stereo right around every single lapping corner? You went cruising. If you thought your classmates was going to be at a certain part of the actual lap, and you were told 900 times they're going out this weekend. Where are they going out? We're going cruising. That's exactly what you did. Maybe you were trying to hook up that night. I don't know, and it wasn't any of my business. But many people back in the Gen X day, that's what we loved to do. And if you were a car guy or a girl, and you wanted to show off that $30,000 setup you had, that was your option. And sometimes you got to pull into a parking lot, and it would be one big gigantic mess of people wanting to look at your car, or it end up turning into either one of three things. Either it was a big get together, either the girls came over and you had one big gigantic whatever, or the third one is there would be one big gigantic street fight. And I've seen them, and they are absolutely comical. And I remember doing that many days with many people in my own hometown, and driving 20 minutes to a half hour going somewhere just to socialize. Does not necessarily mean you really went out on your way to try to find people, because there were no cell phones back in the day, and there were no pagers back in the day. You had to hunt. If you had to hunt for certain people, you had to hunt for cars, you had to hunt for the girls who were driving the Mustangs, or driving a Jeep or Wrangler, just to get their attention. And I laugh, because some guys actually who weren't that popular would still go cruising, and if they actually got a wave high from a Jeep load of chicks, that was a good night. Whatever makes you happy. But I remember most of those things, and people will bring that up as always. And maybe after the cruising days, maybe they went somewhere. Maybe they did go somewhere to a club if they were over 21. Maybe they went out to a cabin party, a house party, another big parking lot where, as long as you weren't causing trouble, cops weren't going to do anything to you. But that was Generation X's version of a chat, of a get-together, online chat, whatever you want to call it. I don't want you. That was our get-together. That was, in fact, way before Facebook Messenger, Instagram, and all that bull, you know what. And that was our form of communication. So, in a way, there's times I miss it, but there's times I don't miss it. Now, would, in fact, Gen Z do that? Now, I know early millennials still did that, but Gen Z will not do anything in their shape or form unless you had a $150,000 Bentley, you wanted to drive it around in a small town, which is probably a red flag. I would understand that, but Gen Z kids have no reason whatsoever to go cruising. None. Absolutely not. Unless you wanted to do your mental health thing and go for a drive, which is basically what Gen X does these days, just to clear their head of everybody from the Millennials and Gen Z, which actually does work sometimes. If you're willing to just go out for a drive for no reason, go somewhere different, more power to you. But Gen Z won't do that. If they're going into a car, they know what they're doing. Simple enough. And they have the resources to do it. Remember, in a span, not everybody, I would probably say about 80%, 85%, and I could be wrong, but you know what? It's content, and I don't give a rip. Gen Z doesn't like anybody. They hate everybody, because they believe they are the greatest of all time. This day and age, please. We were Gen X. We say we're the greatest ever. Boomers said they were the greatest ever. And millennials will say they were the greatest ever. Nobody likes nobody. Nobody likes nobody. Hell, everybody's afraid to park next to somebody in a parking lot, in a Walmart, in a grocery store, in a club. They want to park somewhere where they don't want to be touched. I understand their side of the story. Gen Z complains about the economy. They complain about, they'll complain about politics to their extent, because it's not really a Trump-Biden thing. We're growing up into a point where this economy right now is not the greatest that it is, and I understand that. But it's very difficult when we could get a house back then for affordable, and they can't really do it right now because it's not even the price of a freaking Blizzard, a Dairy Queen or something. I don't know. I'm messed up because living as a Gen Z person is hard, but they know they have the grasp of people in the world. I mean, if you've seen some of the Instagram TikToks of Gen Z people complaining about the economy, complaining about working 40 hours, complaining about being short-staffed, complaining about every single thing. If you saw those people, sure, you felt for them, but at the same time, you flip the switch and just be like, are we really watching this? Sometimes I think some of this stuff is staged, but sometimes I saw a guy almost in tears working at a Starbucks, and he's like, he can't keep up. Sir, I worked in a retail company for almost 20 years. Half the time, I guarantee you probably 60%, 70% of that lifespan that I had, I worked a skeleton shift. Don't tell me about not being able to cover. That's on you. I thank the other place for that, but, they could also pay a little bit better too. But, some people, who fly planes and live in mansions, making 9 figures for the same company that I used to work for, they're not worried about you. So I understand the pain. So by all means, we feel you. Try living in our shoes back in the day, because no Gen Z person wants to gather carts in the parking lot for a living for at least a handful of years. But that's anybody. That can be anybody in the world. And I'll tell you one thing. Sometimes, like I said, I miss the cruising days, because if you saw pictures on Instagram about what women looked like in the 70s and 80s, those are our ancestors, and they were pretty cool. I'm not even joking. They were cool. We had it best. We had it good. We had it best where we didn't give a crap. We were so beat up by our parents, it's ridiculous. I could go on and on, but pieces like this is going to thrive when I get a chance to talk with others. So you can sit there and say you have the best people in the world in Gen Z. Wait till Gen Alpha jumps up, because they will jump into the Royal Rumble and they will fight you. Gen Z fights the millennials. Millennials fight us Gen X people. Boomers don't care. They're just laughing. Some of them are laughing in their grave. But I will shut this bar down real quick by just simply saying I appreciate you hanging out and having another little bit of a spat about Gen X and Gen Z and all that. But always remember, and I respectfully recommend you go find the comedian Eliza Schlesinger. She's one of the best in business, hands down. And some of her old stuff is amazing. You need to look for her on Netflix. Look for her on small clips on Facebook or even YouTube, whatever you need to do. Because she recently did, I believe it was a handful of months ago, but she just had a second shot. One of the greatest phrases she ever said, was she barked and had this big speech about the millennials and Gen Z. She literally said, "We are your ancestors. We taught you all this stuff." And she said, we basically run on Instagram so you people can thrive on TikTok. That's pretty much right down the middle. And what do I think about the government trying to ban TikTok? I really don't give a rip. I'm on TikTok only to push the YouTube channel. And I don't do very much stuff on it except post some different stuff on there once in a while anyway. You find me on there, the handle's there, whatever you want to do. But guys, still asking, what do you guys remember back in the day as far as all this different stuff is concerned? I appreciate you. Leave a comment, leave a story, leave a like on there. Continue to hook us up, hook to subscribe, and there will be more talks like that down the road. And until then, the bar is closed. And even good old Statler and Waldorf will say it is best. I appreciate you. We'll hang out another time soon, but until then, bar is closed. Thank you again, and we'll see Bloody Legends in the next one. And these guys would say it best. You know, that's not all bad. You know, this wasn't half bad. You're right. It was all bad.